Guten Tag. It has been a minute since we talked, but all is good now. We have a quote-unquote new Souls game to play with a super active player base, and that's just the best thing ever. Today I'm going to talk about the Remastered, invading at Metasoul level, and what build I chose to make as my main. So as you probably noticed, the game released early on some platforms, at least on PC, and when I heard it did, I immediately took off a day from work so I could play immediately. My plan was clear from the get-go, and it's the same as with every Souls game. Take my time to enjoy PvE, and get my character up to Metasoul level so I can invade. As you maybe know, I don't like low-level invasions much, and by low-level I mean anything below Metasoul level. Don't get me wrong, that's not an honor thing at all, but invading new players struggling with PvE is just not what I'm looking for. I don't judge anyone who does, it's what invasions are at least partially there for, but I seek a challenge, and through that justification to try really fucking hard. To that end, I played through the game 2 times, to get enough souls for soul level 125, enough slabs for all my weapons and armor pieces, to have certain areas open for PvP, and not the least because I really enjoy this game's PvE. When I was done with my way to Metasoul level, I started invading, and oh boy, did I get more than I bargained for. Just a disclaimer, the following might sound like I'm complaining, and I'm really not. I'm just saying how it is. What you run into at Metasoul level is, for the most part, giant moms with a crystal great club and hornet ring doing nothing but trying to backstab you. Brandon builds with a buffed falchion and Wrath of God, or flipping katana waistcloth warrior weeps. Not that I expected anything else, I mean, I played this game before, but it truly gave me ample occasion to plan out a build that is able to cope with all that. And the result you can see in this video. Now, if you are new to this game, or like me stopped playing a few years ago, you might be wondering what the hell I'm doing there. A mid-roll build for invasions in Dark Souls 1. Back in my day, that was pretty much unheard of. Everyone and their mother would tell you that you need to fast roll, period, in invasions and in duels. But much has changed since then. My friend Kali, who I got to know back in 2013 as Zweihardt, who I used to meet almost on a daily basis in Ulasil, told me about how a mid-roll Mid-Kumo build was dominating the try-hard dueling scene, winning almost every tourney of the last few months. I was utterly perplexed, but it was something that immediately popped up in my head when I was facing the challenge of soul level 125 invasions in the Remastered. You know, even though I consider myself an invader first and foremost, I have a lot of respect for the dueling crowd, and I always liked to take the tryhard's knowledge about the game and its mechanics and apply it to invasions. And since none of my initial plans for a fast-rolling invader worked, they all just lacked the poise and or damage output, I quickly looked into how to convert my already existing character into a Mid-Kumo build. And when I did, I instantly knew that I have found utter glory. If you don't know what a Mid-Kumo build is, it's basically what it says on the tin. It's a build centered around the Mid-Kumo. It sacrifices fast roll for high defense, high poise, and nasty criticals. I will leave a link to my rendition of the build in the comments. Be aware though that this is not how you would do a Mid-Kumo build for duels. My version is made for invasions and has thus seen a few changes. And speaking of invasions, it's not without issues in that regard. The lack of mobility through mid-rolls and the inability to use the flip ring for quick getaways can be problematic, Especially getting out of backstab chains is a bit of a bitch, but there's also a lot speaking in its favor. And that would be the damage output, especially on crits, the stun lock potential, and just the overall tankiness of the build. Where other builds would either use Havel's Ring in the second slot, or have an open slot for using different rings situationally, Mid-Kumo pretty much always uses the Hornet Ring. And this combined with the high AR of the Murakumo means that backstabs and riposts really hurt. This is pretty much the Chaos Dagger of Dark Souls 1 for all of you Dark Souls 3 aficionados, and you know how much I loved the Chaos Dagger in that game. Just as nice is the fact that the Murakumo's R1s stun infinitely, both one-handed and two-handed. As long as you have stamina and are able to break your opponent's poise, they're not gonna get out, unless they toggle escape. And 77 poise means I can trade with ultra great weapons and can keep on swinging when everyone else is getting staggered. Plus, I can use a medium shield, and you probably already heard how stupidly good shields are in this game, so that is a huge bonus too. I mainly use the Grass Crest shield for the stamina regen, but also have the Crest shield for mages and the Dragon Crest shield for pyros. Black Flame rounds it all off, being a great finisher and an excellent tool for breaking poise. This is also the reason why I have 45 dex to cap out the cast speed, so I can do things like combo a kick into Black Flame, which is only possible at max cast speed. All in all, I'm super happy with this build. I want to be honest, I'm not the greatest at this game, and that's putting it lightly. I have a lot to learn, seeing as those 1400 hours I have in the original are from 3 years ago. This build allows me to relearn the game, all the while being able to consistently win, even against experienced players with similarly optimized builds. Exactly what I was looking for. However, I also have a fast roll set up for this character, just to mix things up once in a while, especially for duels. I'll also leave a link to that version of my character in the comments. It uses 6 unit weapons such as the Chaos Blade and Claymore, and has 42 poise, enough to poise through a Great Combustion, with an open ring slot for the Wolf Ring, Hornet Ring or Flip Ring, depending on the situation. This is also a lot of fun, but I might talk about that more in another video. For now, I just briefly want to address some of you keyboard warriors out there, because I can already hear you clattering. Oh my god, the fashion is terrible. Why don't you make something unique? Why don't you just play for fun? And of course, you're a disgusting tryhard. Let me answer all of that real quick. Yes, the fashion is terrible. The unfortunate truth of Dark Souls 1 is that the game is very limiting in terms of fashion choices to begin with compared to Dark Souls 2 and 3, and even more so if you want to optimize. And I want to optimize, so this leaves me with little choice. I'm also not interested in making something unique. I'm not a special little snowflake. I'm just a dude who wants to stand a chance at Metasoul level invasions. I do play for fun, and that's why I chose this build. It lets me learn as well as win. This is what's fun for me. And finally, yes, I'm a tryhard. That's kinda my thing, you know? If you want lore builds, you better watch Pincognito. If you want to see someone challenge themselves, go watch Project Goof. As Saint Riot put it, you come to me for ruthless German efficiency. That's just how the cookie crumbles. And honestly, leaving all those self-limitations behind you, all those concerns about honor, fashion, etc., is incredibly liberating. Don't knock it before you try it, just saying. In closing, I just want to say a few words about the remaster in general, because there has been quite the controversy about it in the community. I can only speak for myself, but all this outrage left me properly confused, as for me the remaster turned out almost perfectly. As Jutas put it aptly, yes, it's still the same clunky piece of shit and that kinda sucks, but then again, it's still the same clunky piece of shit, which is glorious. I was hoping they would leave the game alone for the most part and just improve online connectivity as well as the graphics, and that's pretty much what happened. I consider the graphics to be very nice even compared to the modded PC version of the original, especially taking into account how smooth the remaster runs in comparison. I especially appreciate the native support for ultra-wide resolutions, as I have a 21:9 monitor, even though I have to switch to 16:9 when I record footage. As for the gameplay, yes, the weapon matchmaking sucks. I wish that hadn't been a thing for all of you low-level co-opers and invaders, but the reality is, since I play at Metasoul level, it doesn't affect me, so I can't be too mad about it. And the removal of dead angles and ghost hits is regrettable for all of you dueling nerds, but I'm an invader, so again, it doesn't affect me much. As I said in my previous video about the remaster, I don't like the 6-player multiplayer all that much, but it hasn't been too bad so far, so all good on that front too. It really is just more of a game I dearly love, and it is amazing to see all those great people I got to know during Dark Souls 2 and 3 experience it now with the remaster too. It feels like coming home after a long absence, and as it's looking now, I'm not gonna leave for a long time. Have a good one, folks. Nif out.